All right, everybody, welcome back to the second channel. Welcome back to the 2Bit Crypto live channel. That's right. Breaking out with 83 subscribers. I hope you all do. Welcome back. I hope you all do well. Welcome in TikTok as well. Shout out to you guys. Obviously, TikTok, you are just TikTok, all right? But welcome back as everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Markets continue. Day 2 of the rally. But can you trust it? We're not here to discuss or debate it. I've got a video coming out all about that a little bit later on and why I think that it's going to trap a lot of people. But I want to talk a little bit about it anyway, all right? So the video I'm going to do is a bit more specific to XRP, but the sentiment I probably do want to just touch on a little bit this evening and sort of talk the way through. So as always, we are obviously here on the new-ish channel. Like I said, I don't really have a logic for it, but it's interesting that I haven't streamed on the main channel for 2 days, and I put a video out that did 4,000 views yesterday. I'm not saying the two are correlated, but it's hard to not think they are, given everything that's going on. But anyway, we're not really here to discuss that. We are going to dive into quite a bit of stuff, and I want to just sort of double down a little bit on sort of some of the concepts. We're going to watch a couple of videos. Brian Armstrong sort of come out and talked about a few bits and a few other bits and pieces. All right, so it's going to be pretty exciting. This on your screen right now is going to form quite a bit of what we're going to talk about. Now, guess what I can also do, guys? Check this out, right? Check this out. Tell me if you like this or not. Here, and here. Check this out. Check this out, everybody. Yo! Right, so I can be here, look. I can be here now, and you don't see a background. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? That's a little bit different. So yeah, so I'm going to be here for a little bit, all right? I can live down here. I can make myself big, small, whatever, all right? All right, you guys can't see this on TikTok, but I've got like a green screen. But anyway, you guys obviously can see the fact I don't have a green screen, but whatever. So yeah, this is obviously the US debt clock, which just broke over $40 trillion, right? It's absolutely insane, the numbers that are attached to this, by the way, right? No, it's not a green screen. It's a filter on my OBS. So if I move really quickly, look, it all gets a bit weird, but it's a filter on my OBS. That I've got set up. But yeah, $119,000 per person. $60 billion was added to the US national debt. So this will make sense in a minute. All right, TikTok, I'm going to move you to here so you can kind of see what's going on. But yeah, the US world debt clock per taxpayer, 286 quid, interest per day, $3.8 billion. Absolutely crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. So Zero Doom, my man, what's going on? Welcome in. Tomatoes here as well. Magic Craig, just make sure you share the stream out, everybody, so people know that we are here and not on the main channel. Like I said, I don't know if we might do something on the main channel if the market starts getting a bit wild, but this is important, right? This will come back to your head looks small. I mean, there's nothing to do about that. It's just I haven't got much hair. We will come back and talk about that in just a minute, and we'll talk about a few other bits and pieces here on the price of Bitcoin. Now, let's talk about this, and then that will make sense as to what I was just touching on in terms of the debt clock, because it's all going to link. Okay. So Bitcoin, again, 4.8% breaking out, looking pretty strong. You got Ethereum back above 2,300. You got Solana at 87, which is a really, really nice move. XRP, probably one of the stories, of the day, 11.6%. Now, look out for the video. It'll drop in about 3.5 hours as to why by the way, this isn't me turning bearish on XRP, by the way. I just think people are going to be FOMOing in when they shouldn't be. I actually think XRP is at a really critical level, hence why there is a box drawn here. I'll talk about the box in a minute, but that video is going to be really important. If you're an XRP holder, you're definitely going to want to watch that video, all right? It's important to reference it. But yeah, this kind of breakout becomes quite significant as to kind of where it goes to. And the rest of the market, Monad's up. You got Aerodrome doing 8.5%, which is kind of nice. What is interesting, though, is you're still seeing some coins. Ondo not really giving us anything up, which is kind of a little bit disappointing. You've also got things like XDC moving. Edge, Light, we talked about those on the channel. I think Tim brought them up a while back. But yeah, you got some kind of decent movers down here. And then Memes had a decent day today. Pump doing 22%. We were calling that. Whiff doing about 10. Pepe now up above the decent range here as well. So, which is kind of good to see as well. So Memes having a decent run. Markets are kind of popping off. But the question is always why, isn't it? The question's why. Why now is the market going crazy? And I do want to talk about what the Fed's doing, and then I want to get into some of these important charts that will all make sense as we sort of walk through this, really, and we sort of get there. So we have to kind of go back to the reason and rationale as to what's happened in the last 24 hours, which obviously we know the Federal Reserve has now basically said, well, and have you noticed how many crypto is greed and pumping? A lot of YouTubers are suddenly coming out of them. Yeah, and I think a lot of them are going to lead their communities to the slaughter. That's my opinion, by the way. I think a lot of them are going to be super hyper bullish right now. And I'm just erring with a side of caution. I haven't bought anything. My DCA bags have stopped buying. The positions are really, really up, actually. And I was contemplating selling a little bit because I do have a relatively strong conviction that I do think we're going to come back. And I guess I'm kind of going to explain a little bit as to why that is in this live stream as well. So again, not facilitating financial advice, but just give you my opinion on it, because I think right now you've got this overwhelming like optimism that the bull market's back, and it just, for me, it's the reason I think a lot of people will end up getting wrecked in this market, and the reason I think that a lot of people, I think you can tell what the agenda is behind kind of people as opposed to there being a relative logic. If you don't believe what I'm talking about, just look at some of this. Bull run starts now. Crypto bull run is here. Right? XRP official crypto bull run confirmed for XRP investors. Crypto bull run. These are all today, by the way, which is kind of crazy if you ask me, right? You know, betting millions. Crypto bull run's back. This is me, look. Just XRP just did the unthinkable behind closed doors. If you haven't seen that video, I would definitely recommend going and watching it. But so I don't want to be like I do want to preface this by saying I'm not here to be like super bearish and be like, oh my God, I think everyone's got this wrong. But I am here as a let's say a voice of reason, and I'll back the reason up with actual statistics, and I'll back it up with actual figures, okay, which is important to reference, okay? So we have to start here, right? We have to start here, and this will kind of start the preface of what I want to talk about and how then this is going to play out and how this relates back into the cryptocurrency market. We probably need to have this chart up as an example, actually. This is probably a better one to keep, which is the overall cryptocurrency market. By the way, you can get this free indicator here at tbcrypto.com if you want to get that, right? But everyone right now is talking about the fact that the Treasury is doing a bigger buyback. We covered this yesterday on the channel, okay? So I'm not going to go back over it. But what I thought was worth probably looking at is the correlation between now, where the Federal Reserve is essentially increasing the amount of buybacks on longer term bonds versus what happened in previous years and previous times when this has happened. Why? Because it'll give us a good context to understand whether this is a genuine liquidity move into the market, or, which is where my thesis is going to come out, where I think this is a short-term movement of capital, which I think will come back out of the cryptocurrency market. I don't mean long-term. I'm not going to sit here and say that I think the market's going to go to zero tomorrow, but I do think this is a short-term rotation, and I do believe that aligns to the fact that the Treasury is only going to do this for a short period of time. So I think capital has left the stock market, and all this will become more important and become more relevant as we spoke about it. But I think capital's leaving the stock market to enter the crypto market as a little bit of an FU to the Treasury, a little bit of the what can I hold that they can't be influenced. And that's where I think a lot of this capital is flowing to the market. I, however, think it will go back out of the market and go back into the stock market and rally into the midterms, okay? Because as much as Trump wants to be pro-cryptocurrency and it's a great narrative to have, the reality is that people want the stock market to rally. That's where more money will be made. Remember, the total capitalization of the entire cryptocurrency market is $2.44 trillion. You only have to look at Apple, that's about $6 trillion. So Apple itself is 3 times all. The gold market is like 30 trillion. Overall equities market globally is like 110 trillion. So it just gives you an idea of where that is. And if you don't understand how much a trillion is, just look at this. This is doing 1 million every second, and it's not going to move that for a very, very long time. Okay. So it's probably like 3 months or something crazy like that. So it's worth understanding. Okay. So yesterday, obviously, we got from Scott Bessent, we got the announcement that they were going to increase the amount of buybacks that they were going to do, okay? It was going to go to 4 billion. Now, what Scott Bessent has actually come out and said is that may end up being more, hence why the market's rallied again today. But the question we have to ask ourselves then is, why is the market rallying? Well, for that, we need to understand what it is they're actually doing. So the 10-year, the 20-year, and the 30-year Treasury yields are the Treasuries, or the bonds, is what's getting bought, okay? That's the important bit. I mean, when 3 billion shorts get liquidated, they can produce a move like this. It's rather than what's being bought. Yeah, I mean, again, though, the market was hugely over-leveraged. Exactly the same as October 10th, the market was massively over-leveraged to the short side. Now, it's interesting, and again, I've got another video coming out, which... Again, I recommend watching them because I am putting loads of research into some of these that talks about the institutional money that moved. So, for example, Jane Street, I don't know if people know this, but Jane Street accumulated over $14 million worth of XRP over the last 19 days. Surprise, surprise, XRP breaks out and does 20%. Like, you can't tell me that one of the most manipulative hedge funds and companies in the global equities market 19 days ago completely shifted their position. They 60x'd their position in XRP exposure in 19 days, and then XRP gets a run. Now, one thing that I actually have been doing recently today, and I'm going to try and integrate this into a Telegram bot, is I've set up an AI scraper that scrapes the SEC website for finding 13F filings to find out whether you've got exposure to XRP ETFs, BTC ETFs, and try and get that absolutely as it lands. For example, if we start seeing big companies starting to buy a shit ton of ETFs, in particular crypto assets, I expect that asset to move. So that hopefully should come in the next week or so. I don't know Python code very, very well, so it's taking a bit of time to kind of do it, but fingers crossed it will. Fingers crossed it will come out. Yeah, I've been messing about with a new website as well for 2-Bit Crypto as well, which hopefully should start to give us a little bit more intel, but more on that in a bit. Okay, so the fact of the matter is that the US Treasury announced it's going to double the amount of money we've got there, over 4 billion, right? Now, this isn't anything new. Again, the reference point here is it's not QE. If anyone's telling you it's QE, unsubscribe from their channel because they're lying. It absolutely is not, right? And this is the Treasury sort of messing around with markets, and they shouldn't do. But the point that we need to understand is, what does that look like in history, and how is that going to relate back to exactly where we sit right now in the crypto market? Well, good news for you guys, I have got you covered, all right? So this is the historical data, specific data that comes from Treasury buybacks and what the markets did on those particular buyback events, okay? So this goes all the way back to February of 2000. That was the first time that the Treasury essentially got involved with the bond market. And you can see there that they actually moved the 10-year yield by over 150 basis points, okay? So they made a significant intervention into what was going on with yields to try and bring those yields down, particularly the 10-year yield. What does it do to the stock market? It crashed the stock market 57.9%, right? So it really did get in there and wreck the stock market. Hence, and again, this will all start to become a bit more relevant shortly, but hence why this is a short-term move, because they can't risk killing the stock market. But that's why you are seeing an element of sell-off. Whenever governments start messing about in bond markets, this is generally seen as not a good thing. All right, I think it's fair to say it's generally seen as not a good thing when it goes in there. So the Federal's fund rate, by the way, was approximately 3.82%. So interest rates were just under 4%. And yeah, the Nasdaq lost 58%. Now, this was essentially the dot-com collapse in 2000 and 2002. Now, you would say, well, we don't really have the risk now, like the dot-com bubble's gone. However, we actually have the AI bubble. And by the way, look out for some content I'm doing on the AI bubble, because I think that's going to be pretty interesting. We'll talk about it on this channel. I'll post my findings in the Discord as well. But yeah, the AI bubble is a real thing, and people are neglecting the fact that it's still there. But essentially, at that moment in time, crypto didn't exist, so we can't really look where it is. But the dot-com bubble gives us an indication as to what the Fed, or in this case, the Treasury, is prepared to do. And they will wreck markets if they've got to. They don't really care. So move and fast forward to 2024. May to July in 2024, we actually got 31.5 billion liquidity support buyback from the Treasury, right? Which I think is important. And what did that do? Well, it dropped the 10-year yield by over 48 basis points. It pumped the Nasdaq, it pumped the S&P 500, and we saw a 13.6% move in BTC. That was actually the biggest move outside of now that Bitcoin's done based on some of this data. Now, you would say, well, it's only 2024, so we haven't got a lot of data to go by, but it is important, right? It is important. Now, market participants offered approximately $148 billion into the liquidity operation. So basically what that means is all of those that were holding longer term bonds basically offered up nearly $150 billion for the Treasury to buy back, okay? So, which is pretty wild. Now, obviously they only bought about 20 billion in cash equivalents and cash management buybacks. It wasn't the craziest thing, and we saw that kind of 48% drop in the 10-year yield. Fast forward to July to 2024 in October in the broader expansion phase. So this was kind of where we got just a little bit more of a kind of I guess kind of a little bit more of a move here, where this was kind of a bit more Trump sort of on the cusp of coming back, as it were. And actually what you got then was actually a strong move, because they moderately supported the liquidity. So they didn't do anything big. It was only a little bit. But you can see there that generally speaking, it's a reasonably good thing. 5.5% there on BTC is not the end of the world in terms of kind of what that looks like. And what's going on? What's going on, Chris? Good to see you, man. Welcome in. So July, November 2025, long end frequency increase. This was all about trying to get the 30-year Treasury down. You may remember it from what we were talking about. It's the back end. Essentially, it's kind of what sort of contributed to the fact that the crypto market ended in October. But I mean, you could argue this 4-year cycle. What do we get? We got a only 28 basis points move on the 10-year yields. We got 10.5 on the NASDAQ, 6.4 on the S&P, and Bitcoin dumped 13.4%, right? Fast forward, 19th of August, 2026, basically current moves. The 10-year yield has moved down 6 points. The NASDAQ marginally up, the S&P 0.21, nothing crazy. Bitcoin's up 7.5%. So you could argue and say, well, history tells us that the more you do, the worse it is. But generally speaking, the better performance you get in risk assets. But equally, the least you do, the worse performance you generally get in things like the S&P or the NASDAQ. Okay, so I think it's important to reference with that. So what does that then bring us to, and what does that mean for this particular move right now? Okay. Well, what it means is, in my personal opinion, is that this is a temporary move, as on every single element of what happened in these, the 10-year yield went back to where it was. So yes, it moved 6 basis points, it went back. Yes, 28 basis points, it went back. 150 basis points, went back. So it's a temporary measure that is designed to I mean, I don't even really know why it is, to drive markets, I think. I mean, it sounds crazy, but basically what you've got is the Treasury stepping in and fucking about with the bond market. And that's not a good thing. Remember, you know, bonds and Treasury yields and all that kind of stuff is sort of what they're doing. So if we think about where we sit right now, and also when you think about this, which is obviously the US Treasury debt, then they will probably, in my opinion, short-term move this. This will potentially move risk assets. It'll probably drive the dollar value down. Now, I haven't looked at the DXY in a while, but expect the dollar to weaken based on this as well. Why? Because you're inflating the amount of dollars that are available, right? So again, it's going to weaken the dollar. Now, what's Trump's playbook been for pretty much the most time he's been in office? I'm going to dump the dollar. Why is he going to dump the dollar? Because he wants interest rates to come down. Is he going to get interest rates coming down by this? No. So then you get this kind of really kind of crazy bit in terms of Trump's going to drive the economy like a lunatic. He's absolutely going to drive it down. The yen is the yen pumping? About 0.6%. Nothing super crazy, but so he's going to drive, in my opinion, he's going to drive the dollar down. So then risk assets will get a move, but risk assets will not get the midterms. He will not benefit from that, right? In my opinion. So this is where the narrative kind of changes a little bit into the sentiment of what they're trying to do and then how it kind of looks, right? The fact of the matter is this is driving additional demand for long-term bonds, okay? So people are naturally going to look to buy 30-year bonds and 10 years and 20 years. Why? Because it'll drive a little bit more friction. Companies may do the same thing as well, right? It adds liquidity to a weak market. You can, the longer yields will fall, so people ultimately will get less. You've got better Treasury liquidity. Now, that'll be the key thing, is whether the Treasury actually do anything on the back of it with any of this capital. Do they decide to kind of invest a little bit and do all the rest of it, which is kind of going to be interesting as well. But what does it look like would be the next purchase, the 9th of September, and what happens with the 20-year and the 30-year, right? Which I think is really, really important, because if those particular things begin to fall and real yields come down, the dollar continues to weaken, and actually we see a generally more improving financial conditions, this actually can end up being pretty significant because inflation expectations could overwhelm the entire market. Trump doesn't get what he wants. He then has to put the foot on the gas, pedal to the metal, and pump the stock market, right? So right now, this is really important to understand. And yes, on the surface, everyone's getting super excited about the fact that the Treasury is essentially pumping money into the markets. I just realized I can't see any of the chat that's on my other phone. But I would air this with a real sentiment of caution, okay? Because as much as we've seen the pump that we've got, this can all go south just as quick, all right? Just as quick. And I think a lot of people are negating that, believe it won't, whatever you want to say, right? So it is important to just think about how that all plays through. Right, I can see you guys on TikTok. Shout out to everybody that's here on TikTok. All the gang tuning in. Let me just kind of make sure you've got the screen that you can see. So shout out to everybody that's tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay. So that just gives you a bit of a premise of where we are. That's why I want to talk about just specifics of the sort of move here on the Treasury yield. Now, okay, let's link that back to possibly, all right, one of the most important charts that you may have seen today or see today. Now, again, TikTok, if you are listening, please don't stop the stream because people need to see this, right? This is important to understand and it will support your thesis in terms of what you're thinking the market's doing. Again, remember, I am not here to tell you what to do with your money. I'm definitely not a financial advisor. I'm just someone that's really locked in to researching this market to ensure that as a community, we make good amounts of returns coming up in this upcoming bull run. If you're brand new here, by the way, I missed the top of this previous market by about 11 days. I sold pretty much 60% of my entire portfolio at 108,000. And I think we pretty much called the bottom as well. We called the bottom and 50, I think we said 55 to 60. We hit 57.7. So not a bad day at the office, but this is a pretty important chart. Why? This is showing us high wealth investors. Okay. So this essentially is the conviction buyers and how much of the supply they hold. And you can see a very obvious correlation between 2022 and 2026. Fatsonic, I can't believe you're still that bearish, to be honest, okay? And what you're seeing here is a very similar pattern that's starting to play out. Now, 2022 was also a midterm year post off the 2021 bull market cycle top. And actually, we are seeing a very, very strong correlation between the two things. The share of supply was bought by this particular cohort, i.e. the people with lots of money and big pockets, in both of these cycles, right? But what's crazy is it's even bigger now. So the people with the most amount of cryptocurrency and the biggest wallets and the deepest amounts of capital are significantly wading in onto this crypto market. Now you could say, well, maybe it's institutions, maybe it's companies, maybe it's hedge funds, treasury corporations, whatever. Doesn't really matter. They are buying at a rate that we have not seen before. And I think it's important to reference, whenever you've got that amount of buy pressure, and we can argue, in my opinion, for all the days long, with a dwindling sell pressure. Dwindling sell pressure. I'll stick with it, Fat Sonic. I'll put it on the chart. I'll put 49K on the chart and see where we get to. With a dwindling sell pressure, then I do think that is important to reference. And I think it's important to understand the specific nature of how this chart plays out. Again, this, in my opinion, will be supporting this drive in the market, okay? So this kind of, this big deep pocket buying an absolute crap ton of what's going on in the cryptocurrency market. Again, we didn't see really anything change until we got later on into the year, into the into the kind of accumulation year, when this particular group then started to just hold and then the price started to move back up again. So, where does this align to the thesis that I have? It aligns pretty well, in fairness, that yes, you have got these big pockets accumulating at prices that people still think it's going to go lower. That's not me having to dig at anyone specifically. I'm just saying that's what I think people are doing. And then that plays into the narrative then of, this kind of volatility in the market. You could have a look and say, well, how did this play out in previous cycles? And what does it generally look like? And you can always argue that generally speaking, we do see these kind of moves. Anyway, look at 2022 back here. If you go to August of 2022, what did you get? We got a dump in August. So you say, well, okay, August was a sell-off. Back in 2022, when the accumulation was happening, when we got this massive move in July, well, we pumped in July and currently we are moving. Now, does this mean that we're going to drive it? I don't know, but we could be potentially front running it. The other thing I would think about as well, by the way, and let's just say, for example, and Fat Sonic, I'm not calling you out, but I think you are airing probably what some people think. and you say, well, $49,000 is where I believe we're going to get to, okay? So you then take the price here to $49,000. It's a 31% drawdown. That 31% drawdown, if you assume a 4-year cycle, means that you've got about 7 weeks to get to that point. So you have to drop the best part of like 6% every single week on Bitcoin consistently now for the next 7 weeks to hit the bottom of the market come October time. Or you might say, well, I don't believe October is the bottom. I believe that we're going to be a little bit later. So that's kind of where I say, if you want to split it by months, you say, well, okay, we've got like 3 months, well, probably less actually, August, September, October. You got 2 months to drop 30%. So you've got to drop 15% in both months. Bitcoin historically doesn't do it. Now, I'm not saying that we haven't had a drawdown and that we can't not get a drawdown. And I truly believe that it's probably most likely that we are going to get one. I just don't think that we're going to go to the levels that I think a lot of people believe. Unless, as always, the 4-year cycle becomes a bit of a nil and valid thing, which it probably is anyway. And I think it's just one of those coincidental things that's moved. Now institutions are in this market. You kind of go, well, you know, it is what it is. Then you sort of get into this world of where we get to. I was just trying to find, what am I trying to find here? Why is, I thought that was on there. Have they changed this? That's super annoying. Market. Oh, it's here. What am I doing? That's what I'm doing. So, you know, Bitcoin, when you look at this as an example, you kind of get a bit of an idea as to where we are. August historically has always been a relatively decent month. What's going on, Innovative? Good to see you, man. Welcome in. Don't forget, guys, if you haven't already hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, definitely just give it a little nudge. That'd be great. Do share us out. And shout out to the people here on TikTok as well. We appreciate you. Shorting now 20x. Mystic Jack. I actually tried to get a short on XRP earlier on, but it didn't work out for me. I'll try again. But yeah, so 15% here, generally speaking, on a August move. September tends to be bearish. So even if you align and say, well, what is the general average? 3% on bear, you know, you need to 5x a average September month to order to get to sort of somewhere near that. Can't believe I lost my mod status. I feel vulnerable. I will change it again. Whether we'll stick, I just looked at some of the statistics. So we've got a total number of views, 18. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether we're going to stick to this. I will say, I know that's going to annoy people, but you know. Anyway, we'll see. Only real indicator I give some credit to is the VWAP from just before the FTX Luna collapse and pointing to that 53K. Yeah, I get it. So, you know, that's kind of where I sit with this. And that then, you know, sort of plays into this kind of idea here on this particular chart. So that's kind of where I sit. It doesn't mean that we can't go lower. You know, if you want to look at it on the weekly chart, for example, and you look at the same sort of narrative and you look at you look at August from last year, we actually pumped into, you know, most of August and then dumped pretty much like we're doing now, which is kind of interesting. So, you know, you look here. So August was here. The first week of August was a bit of a dump. We then had a nice big pump all the way until we dumped on the 15th of August. And we came all the way down. And then that actually started the low that we ended up obviously bottoming out. You have to sort of, you know, take away the fact of FTX here, to be honest. And so you say, well, okay, what are we doing right now? So we did dump. Well, we pumped in the first week of August, took all that away. And then obviously this week has been a pretty big move, driven by the, you know, the Treasury announcement that we've got, which is again kind of interesting. So that's kind of worth thinking about on that chart. Now, there is a couple of other charts I want to show you, which is this United States stock market, which is kind of giving up a little bit. Now, obviously we can look at it on here as well. The S&P 500 down at 0.8%, giving up the goat here a little bit. Again, down to the Treasury. You can kind of just view this as, you know, Trump's bros is probably the best way I would think about. You know, if I'm a Trump bro, I'm going, why are you allowing this to happen? This is not what I need. You know, look at anyone that's got a big company are going to be getting absolutely nuked, which will mean any of the top companies will be getting nuked as well. We can take a look at some of these. Look, SpaceX 4%. By the way, that has a humongous token unlock tomorrow, just FYI. You've got Tesla down 1.7. You've got Google down 1%. You've got AMD down, Nvidia down. Meta is obviously getting absolutely pummeled right now at 0.5. So, you know, the stock market's kind of given up, which again, given what the Treasury's doing, this could either signal a decent hold up in the cryptocurrency market or actually could end up being a bit of a disaster. So, you know, worthwhile thinking about this one specifically as well as we kind of walk through this. And then the last chart that I think is worth looking at is this one. Because this is where a lot of people would say, well, 2-bit, you are wrong. You're wrong. Because Bitcoin just posted a 5.8 sigma move, i.e. its correlation or its variance to a generalized move in a financial term. I'm not going to claim I really understand it. fully, by the way, but basically what it is extreme volatility that's out of the norm and shouldn't have happened. And this is in a 30-day volatility period, making it the strongest daily upside spike since October of 2023, according to this particular chart. So the logical thing would be then to say, well, okay, what happened in October 2023 and actually what happened in terms of Bitcoin's price that we can then correlate to what we saw. So if we go to October of 2023, which is here, and we say what happened on this, well, here is the big moves here on BTC that was correlating to the exact thing we just looked at. So you say, well, okay, the BTC market dropped. It came onto the moving average here on the 21-day moving average. And then actually you would argue and say, well, 2-bit, you massive noob, this was the start of the big move here. And actually, this was where, if you want to call it, the short-term bounce bottomed out, and actually then Bitcoin rallied from that low in October and rallied over 400%, breaking a new all-time high. So it sounds a lot like this, 2-bit, and I'm talking to myself a little bit, but it sounds a lot like you've just completely eradicated your entire thesis that says, well, if you assume that this chart, period over period Bitcoin returns in terms of its cumulative performance, negates anything you're saying, because actually that was the beginning of the bull market. Now, you have to understand, though, that you have to correlate those two particular charts. Now, how do you correlate the two particular charts? Well, you come here and you say, well, we need to look at crypto ETFs because that was where it began to be important. And then you start to say, well, what did that look like from an October of 2023? Well, back here, back. Oh, no, they launched in 2024. So this was prior to an ETF launch in 2024. So actually, what does it mean? Right? What does it mean? Well, it means that people are just absolutely plowing the bags here, and they were absolutely converging in terms of what it is. But look at the other narrative. The price of BTC was collapsing, while at the same time, you had this enormous amount of money dumping into the entire market. What's the difference here? The difference is this shouldn't happen. This is only happening because the Scott Bessent and the Treasury markets are driving this. Again, brings back to my very much original thesis that the stock market, this cryptocurrency move is a short-term move aligned probably to the Treasury move. And actually, I do think we probably give up some of these particular gains. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it's probably on there. Which is good. Ad blocker for life. Yeah. Mike, it's been a while since you've shown us any wallet buys from people like BlackRock or World Financial. What are the chances? Maybe I can have a look at that. The honest answer is that, you know, BlackRock... Oh, I shouldn't have done that, really. BlackRock, we know, have been buying. We know that ETFs have been absolutely stacking their entire bags. Let me just sign into this, by the way. BlackRock have been buying a shit ton. That's why the price is doing what it's doing. I mean, a lot of people... you know, haven't really got stuck into this. But yeah, so this is BlackRock's wallet. So you can see, look at this. 300 million, 300 million, 300 million, 300 Bitcoin, 300 Bitcoin, 300 Bitcoin, 300. Like, look at this. BlackRock are just buying. They are net buyers of BTC right now, as are Fidelity, as are Jane Street, as are every corporate entity you can imagine. But that's because retail is now going, oh my God, I totally missed the markets and I've missed the bottom and I need to be FOMOing the living crap out of this market. Let me buy more cryptocurrency. Let me pile leverage in like a lunatic. And then Bitcoin will probably retrace 2%. You know, altcoins will probably retrace 5%. And everyone will be like, oh no, I lost all my money. I can't believe it. I'm such a noob. You know, it's kind of like, yeah. So it's all a bull trap for BTC. I would go as far as to say that I don't necessarily believe it's a bull trap, but I believe that there is a overbought scenario. I mean, look at the RSI here, by the way. It's humongously overbought right now. So, you know, the RSI is literally losing its mind and heading over to SpaceX to launch further into the moon. But yeah, I think this is absolutely driving the fear into the crypto markets so that retail buy, right? Definitely. And the other reason, the other thing I'll show you that I believe is probably the probably a good point is this: the cryptocurrency fear and greed index went from 36 48 hours ago to 62. The sentiment of, you know, yesterday 46 to 62 in 24 hours doesn't make any sense. Hello, what's your name in Telegram? My name in Telegram is @2bitcryptoyt. You can get all the links to my socials in my link tree that's in the browser, not in the browser, in the whatchamacallit, what am I saying? In my profile. You can also get anything you need over at 2bitcrypto.com. That could be our indicator here that you see on the chart. Also, it could be our our exchange partners as well. So we've got some great exchange partners, Bitunix being one of them. Check out the link in the description. You can trade stocks. You can trade all your favorite cryptocurrencies. We're offering a insane up to $10,000 rewards for those traders that make it happen. So you can get all the links in the description as well. Fairground says it's going up, baby. Let's hope so. Join in late. We'll need to watch the recap beginning late. I'm sure there is some great insight. There is. Mouse says defo a trap. Defo a trap. Yeah, I mean, we're probably not wrong in that point. Whoa, like the new stream look. You have a floating profile. Yeah, I mean, I can turn it on and off, by the way. Have you seen this as well, Mark? Look, whoa. Obviously, it looks weird if the background's there, but yeah, I'm honestly, mate, been hooking stuff up. I was going to try and show you the new website as well, but is it this one? Let me see if I can show you guys it. It's not finished yet. It's not finished at all yet. I was just messing around with some stuff today. But I don't know where it goes. That's the only problem. I don't know where it goes. I need the... I don't know where it is. Who knows? I don't know where it is. It's not that one. Oh, it might be here. Oh, I've got it, I think. Yeah, so I'm just messing around with stuff. Like I said, we're trying to, as I did last time, get everything ready for the bull market. That's kind of what we're doing, all right? We're making sure that we're locked in. So this is the new website that I'm building currently. It's got some cool stuff just on the webpage. It's got a momentum indicator in terms of what's going on with altcoins that changes depending on the price. You've got obviously all the recent prices running at the top, which is kind of cool. You've got... you know, market moves, latest videos. You've also got what my content is. So like how much of these individual altcoins am I covering? Just gives you a bit of an idea as to kind of what's there. So obviously you can get that. And then this is kind of the big bit that we're doing. Look at this, conviction without confirmation bias. Let's get it. This is the big bit that I'm doing. So I'm we're building a members only area, right? Building a members only area. So you'll be able to sign up in for a newsletter that's going to come out, which is going to be cool. And then this will be a part of the members. So it'll link to Discord. So if you're in the Discord, we're going to put all of our courses here that we've done. Obviously, we've got the how to trade the SMAs. We've got the 200-week moving average. We've got all that kind of stuff. So it's all going to come on here, be like a members only area as well, which will be kind of cool. So you can see here, look, the members only bit. And then you kind of post your username or your whatever, and then you kind of get in. So welcome back, Mike. 2-bit, your library is ready and you kind of get in there. All right, so just some stuff I'm messing about with to try and, just to try and make things just ready for that market. When that bull market comes, we're going to be locked in and ready for it, which is going to be good news. All right, so yeah, if you want to get access to that, by the way, then check out the Discord link in the description. Also, go over to 2bitcrypto.com, the current 2bitcrypto.com. There is... we've got just the standard website. You can see the kind of difference here, but there's some cool stuff here. You can get our indicators, our trade partners, all that kind of stuff, our latest videos, blah, 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 blah. All that kind of stuff. So yeah, check out those things as well, which is good. And yeah, if you want to get the indicator, by the way, to spot you in terms of your trading, then you can get it here and check it out. All right, so it's definitely worth it. All right, good. Mark, thanks you, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, I thought the LED 2 light was great. Yeah, it's still there. It's, I mean, you can't see it, but it is still there. All right, it is still there. So, like I said, whether I stick to this, I don't really know. I just think it's interesting that, I guess why won't people come to this channel? Like, do people just assume I'm not streaming? Maybe that's a thing. I don't really know. But like I said, and then the other bit I probably might do is so I'm not going to stream Fridays. I don't stream Saturdays. So, maybe that's a thing that I stream something like Sunday, Wednesday, and then we do a Discord call or something. I don't know. I need to kind of work it out and kind of get a bit of a view on it. But anyway, so that's kind of where I sit right now. Right. We were looking at some wallets, weren't we? The other one that is probably worth looking at is, or that's worth keeping an eye out probably, will be what Sailor does. Does Sailor start to buy BTC again? Maybe, maybe not. I think it'd be a good indicator of sentiment within the market. If he starts to grab some stuff, then, that could be an interesting. Bear in mind, he's been a net seller in cryptocurrency now for a while. So I think it's important to understand. So, that's kind of how all that is going to play out, in my opinion. Good. All right. So that is that. Look at this. It's put $1 billion on just while we were live. I mean, that's freaking crazy. So let's take a look at some coins. Like, let's have a look and see what what some of these coins are doing. Let's potentially see what some of these trades are out there. Obviously, we've got the indicator here. This is the new advanced indicator, by the way, that I'm working on as well. So good on Tim. So yeah, I mean, looks, Bitcoin's going to go back above 73k, which is kind of nice. So you got to be careful at the minute if you are trading this. Particularly if you're trying to trade this short, I would be really mindful of what might happen. All right, it's really, really important. So Bitcoin not really doing too much. XRP, I think personally is overbought right now. Now, I actually put this box on here before the stream. This isn't something I've done on the stream. And actually, it will correlate perfectly to the video that's going to come out in about 2.5 hours, which talks about the fact that, in my opinion, XRP was hugely overextended and it's going to come back. It has to break above this red box on the weekly candle close. All right? If it breaks above that on the weekly candle close, then we might be tempted to be a bit more bullish and a bit more optimistic where the market's going to go. You can't just say, well, oh my God, yeah, it did it. It did it today. Like, great. Okay, cool. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. It's got to be a weekly close, which I think is important. Algorand is starting to make a nice little move as well on Algorand. If you look at this on the hourly chart, I mean, look how bullish Algorand's starting to look. Now, you got to be careful though, because the RSI did drop below, which is kind of give us this signal here that actually Algorand might just come down a little bit further. And actually, the 2-bit indicator is going, hey, wait, because it's a little bit bearish, waiting for confirmation. If breaking above here and the market continues, then yeah, Algorand might give us a bit more of a move here. And you can kind of get a bit of a flavor as to, potentially where that's going to go, in my opinion. Historically, where does Algorand like to move? Well, look at this. Perfectly on the 0.5 Fibonacci, 618, it didn't get through, it got rejected. So you're talking about, potentially this move, if this breaks above 786 at nearly 9 cents, might even get to 10 if the market moves. So yeah, this could be an interesting one on Algorand. So yeah, hbar, man, hbar. Why is the love gone for hbar? I don't get it. Right? Again, if you want to get more access to specific hbar content, I am dropping absolute alpha content on my main channel. I am not even joking, right? And I'm covering hbar, I'm covering XRP, and for whatever reason, I don't really understand why people don't care about the hbar videos, right? But you should. So go and check this one out. 40 global banks just got full on-chain access to the hbar infrastructure. All right, no one's talking about it. I actually think hbar is going to be the coin, along with probably XRP a little bit, that so many people negate, assume is doing nothing, and then ultimately miss out. I mean, since I started buying hbar, I mean, it was down here. I mean, look at this, August. I was like, bro, people need to be buying hbar. Like, look at it. Is that then the bottom? Is that the bottom tapped out? I mean, I thought maybe we come a little bit lower, 6-1. Someone asked me about it, and I was like, I don't know. Again, RSI breakout. Look at this. So hbar is probably going to come back. But again, look at the pattern that's playing out here. So, for me, hbar might get pretty interesting pretty quick as well. And I, for one, I'm definitely not missing out on that move. Definitely not missing out on that move. So yeah, I think people are memeing. Yeah, and I think people will ultimately lose out. That's my view. I said this last night, Tim. That doesn't say that there isn't the opportunity out there to get into the meme coins. And by the way, I've been grabbing the odd meme, trading the odd meme, getting involved in the odd meme, whatever. Like, I'm taking the opportunities when they come. I did get that one that you posted, Tim. I thought, well, I'll buy a little bag of it. Like, why not? And I think retail will go into meme coins, but I think this cycle, people are going to look back and go, man, I can't believe for so long, hbar, Algorand, Canton, Ethereum, people will be like, fucking hell, I can't believe Ethereum's done a 5x. Like, that's my opinion anyway. That's my opinion. Institutions buying hbar, retails. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree to my opinion. You only have to look at the filings. That's why we're going to track them, because, they really are doing it. Maybe they're not talking about it because they're trying to keep the law to themselves. Well, I mean, maybe. Maybe it's just weird. I mean, people were bullish on hbar, and then, like, I'm not the only one, by the way, because just no one seems to care about hbar anymore, which is almost hilarious to me. But yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is. VeChain, is that? I mean, I don't own a lot of VeChain, so not sure about it, to be honest. Morpho, again, called this back in the channel as well. I mean, look how bullish that is. I mean, you have to be really optimistic about Morpho. Called this at $1.71, I think it was. Part of my altcoin picks for 2026. Look at it. Looking great. This gets a breakout. Morpho is sending, by the way. I mean, look at this right now. Look how many touch points this has got. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. If Morpho gets a break, expect $3, in my opinion. I think this could be really strong. Really, really strong. Structurally, this looks fantastic. And, you know, arguably, it has broken out the channel look. So, you know, I think Morpho looks great. I think it looks really good. Like I said, definitely one of the picks I did. So, yeah. Until banks like crypto, we aren't going anywhere. That's true. But, again, banks do like cryptocurrency. I think people are naive to believe that banks are not getting involved in the crypto market. I think Bitcoin just broke 73K, by the way, did it? Not quite, actually. It's close. I think some banks are already in. I think the difference is what they're allowed to, you know, do. So yeah, MB23, my man, Morpho. It's like a DEX basically. It's like a perp DEX, but you know, let me just find this statistic for you. So if you guys remember, a while back, I'm gonna say maybe 3 months back, I said about getting off centralized exchanges, and I remember at the end of last year saying I would be off every single exchange going into this year, because it's important that, you know, I'm not on there, blah, 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 right? It was really, really important to get there. And you only have to look at this to understand why. HMRC have now sent more than 81,000 warning letters to UK crypto holders over unpaid tax. The figures cover the 2025-26 financial year against 27,714 letters in 2023-2024. Accountancy firm UHY Hacker Young obtained them through a Freedom of Information request per the BBC. Rules requiring UK platforms to report customer data took effect January the 1st. This is why it was important, if you remember, that you had your accurate reporting of what was on exchanges. For example, if you bought, let's say, Solana at $400 and it was on a cryptocurrency exchange, it was probably worth leaving it on that exchange because the net loss would have then obviously mitigated any therefore tax that you would have had to pay. All right. Now, I don't know about you guys, but obviously I bought loads of cryptocurrency at the all-time high. That was why it got on the exchange. And that's why ultimately that's kind of where we get to. But this was my point that I was saying. So things like Morpho, Jupe's another one. I actually bought a chunk of Jupe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I think I told you guys. Again, you know, buying at the bottom here. I think this will move well because I think people will move away from things like Coinbase, which is good. MB says, are we on the way up now to bit after all this pain? Look, short term, yes. Mid-term, no. Long term, yes. Hopefully that helps. hbar was one of the first cryptos I bought. The more and more I research and the more I do videos on hbar, the more and more bullish I get. It's one of my DCA bags that I just keep DCAing on. Just keep buying it, just getting involved in it. And actually, that you know, mechanic that I talked about here on the channel a while back is working perfectly. And you know, I can't fault it at the minute. Yes, you know, if I'd have just bought the asset, maybe I'd have made more, but I'm not bothered. Currently, right now, I'm over a 10% return on that spot bag, and those DCAs are still there, and it'll just keep buying when it needs to. But, you know, I've been buying SUI, which is now up nicely, hbar, and I was buying XRP like a dollar, so, you know, which is kind of nice as well. And then obviously you guys know that I was staking my XRP. You know, I'm nearly 100 XRP now, which people go, well, it's 100 quid, whatever. It's 100 quid for free that no one else made. Just what I'm saying. Do you believe in Atom? Not really. I'm not a big fan of that sort of thing. Bat? How is Bat? Yeah, I'm not a big... Like, I was kind of bullish on like Luna and the Cosmos ecosystem when that was kind of a thing, but yeah, not anymore. Not anymore, really, but... yeah, that's kind of where I sit with it. I only started trading 2024. I can't diversify into anything, but diversification is key. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Atom was an insider trader deal. Did we look at that on the channel? I think maybe we did look at that, actually. Basic attention token. I don't know anything about it, but we can bring it up. We can take a quick look at that and see. I can't remember if we actually did or not before. Up 4%. Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't touch that with anyone's money. It's down 61% from its all-time high. That is, I don't know much about it. I don't know what it's doing, but it's doing 6 million in volume. It looks like a dead coin. That's all I would say. Again, you know, is the shiny coin better than this? I reckon. It's a great ecosystem. Yeah, Simmons VVV. I mean, everyone. I saw someone talking about VVV. They were like, "Oh my god, it's going to be the most amazing project in the world." And I'm stacking the bags and I'm buying in, and I'm like, "Real? Like, real? Am I missing something with this?" I mean, I must be missing something. I don't get it. I don't understand what I'm missing here, but I don't know. Maybe I am. Do you walk into a cafe and just say coffee? What the fuck? Get him, Chris. I like it. I like it. And VVV launched and rugged hard. Did it really? Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember who. There was a YouTuber that was like, "Hey, I'm like stacking my bags on VVV. I think it's going to be amazing." And I'm like, "Am I just missing something? Maybe I am. Like, maybe I am missing something. I don't know." It didn't have perpetuals when it launched. It was about 10 on many exchange. Oh, right. Okay, fine. I mean, maybe people are bullish on it. I don't know. It's not for me. Not for me, if I'm honest. Like I said, I don't particularly like buying loads of different coins. So the minute all I'm doing is just accumulating coins I've already got, you know, buying the dips on some of these coins. You know, SWI I was talking about. Look at that move on SWI, by the way. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Monad starting to wake up a little bit. This could launch nicely. Again, if it continues its upside momentum push. XLM, another coin I've been chatting about, breaking out. Nice little move there. The only one that's behind Ondo, it just feels like a bit of a lump. A bit, you know, a bit of a limp duck right now. But again, bouncing off the low support range. So, you know, Ondo might give us a bit. Big debate is what happens tomorrow. That's what we've got to look out for. So, yeah, we'll see. Plus, I don't trust the tokenomics or whatsoever. Yeah, I get that. Base chain really doesn't have the great of the success in anything, maybe. I mean, base chain was all right. I still think something's coming with Coinbase. I can't help but believe something like that is there, but we'll see. I mean, Hyperliquid, I don't know if anyone has been stacking that is on the move as well. I mean, look at this move here on Hyperliquid. We sort of talked about this before. Nice move there on Hyperliquid, looking super bullish. Obviously being supported by the president helps a little bit, but yeah, can't argue with that really. Can't argue with that. Right, couple of little bits then. TikTok, I'm going to have to move you a little bit because TikTok definitely gets weird if I start showing videos. So I want to just dead quick before we head out for the evening is to look at a couple of... Oh my God, this stand is like awful. There we go. So look at a couple or listen to a couple, depending on whether you're on YouTube or whether you're on TikTok. Oops, there. Some of the videos that's come out. So we've had a couple of videos that have come out today. One was Michael Selig and one was Brian. Chill out, Brian. Chill out, Brian. And one was Brian. So let's just listen to these real quick and let us... Cool, I think that's right. Let us just listen to what these guys have to say. So let me bring this up. Oh, that's just me. Bruh. There we go. Right. And obviously TikTok, you can just kind of hear it because I can't show you it. But let's listen to what Brian Armstrong had to say. The clip is about a minute long.
So bounced yesterday. I'm curious how much you think that was a bounce off of the back, effectively, of the meeting that you had, or it was really off of the bounce. I don't know if it's a bounce, but really in reaction to what Scott Bessent did yesterday.
Yeah, well, I think those are both good theories. You know, I'd like to think that people are reading the tea leaves a little bit on a few things regarding the Bitcoin price. You know, one is that we've been in a bear market on spot crypto trading for the last year or so. And if you look at the prior bear markets, they each lasted about, I don't know, 370, 380 days. We're basically coming right up against that, where people, you know, they're going to say, well, this one's about over, and it's time for the next bull run in crypto. They're also looking at this September 15th vote for the Clarity Act. And then traditionally, you know, following the Bitcoin halving cycles, like October, November, December, these tend to be good months for Bitcoin. So I think there's a good chance we're on the cusp of the next bull market for spot trading in crypto.
So again, I'm not super convinced that's the case. I'm not super convinced that I'm the case. However, I think what's important to reference, though, is there is significant opportunity that's coming in. But, you know, even Brian Armstrong is like, oh, well, you know, the bull market might be just around the corner. Like, get ready, babe. What, he's going to say that, isn't he? He wants people trading over on Coinbase. Like, come on. He's the worst person you could speak to. But anyway, so, and then we have the CFTC. Their meeting today, specifically related to the crypto market. Obviously, Michael Selig, he was the first person that spoke at the Trump stuff yesterday. So let's listen to what he had to say as well.
The CFTC will utilize its existing authorities to begin establishing a regime for crypto asset markets. We owe it to the American people to do so. President Trump's promised to deliver a crypto asset market structure, and we will help him deliver on that promise. We will heed President Trump's call to codify a future-proof digital asset market structure that cannot be undone by the crypto haters. To achieve this, I've directed the CFTC staff to begin exploring rules to codify a CFTC market structure for crypto assets using the agency's existing authorities. This could enable current registrants as well as non-registrant crypto exchanges to be designated by the CFTC as a type of DCM known as a crypto asset market and offer crypto asset trading on a leveraged or margin basis subject to purpose-fit rules under the CFTC's regulatory oversight. We're going to give Clarity its breathing room for a vote. But if the Democrats cannot support a bipartisan work product which reflects compromises from both sides of the aisle and ultimately send a fair version of the bill to the president's desk, then rest assured, I will direct CFTC staff to move swiftly to propose these rules for the industry. I'd urge you all to continue engaging with Capitol Hill to ensure that this bill gets across the finish line, and we stand ready to begin immediately implementing the bill if passed.
Hold on a minute, let me get my microphone on. So what I would say there is that both the SEC and the CFTC are essentially going to launch their own Clarity Act if the Clarity Act doesn't pass. Now, obviously they get a little bit more disclosure to a lot of these things versus what we get. Why would they be so bearish against the Clarity Act getting through? Like, why would that even be in the vocab? I am probably in a world where I don't think it goes through September. Maybe we get it in 2027, maybe. But I've kind of been pretty bearish on the Clarity Act for a while. My assumption was that it didn't pass when the markets were booming, when Trump was kind of all about cryptocurrency. Now, they're making the Clarity Act about Trump, which then means the Democrats won't pass it, which then essentially means that it sort of might roll into 2027. So that's why I think you're getting the SEC and the CFTC making their own sort of moves up because they kind of have to, which is my opinion. So yeah, that's kind of where I think that one goes. Whether it goes any further, past any further, I don't know, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think while that is sort of overhanging, we're not going to be in a place where we sort of get anything different on the back of it. So anyway, worth thinking about. All right, worth thinking about, everybody. So yeah, that's that. Right, let me just real quick. There we are, look. My room is back. Clarity is 100% not passing until banks know that they can keep their use case and that they can make money. The banks hate it because essentially it will take capital away from the banks. That's the problem. So yeah, I'm not as optimistic as maybe other people are. I know people are, super crazily optimistic about the fact it's going to go through. I just don't sit in that same camp right now. And I don't think I will get into that particular part just at the minute, but hey, it is what it is. Right, everybody, that brings us up to just under an hour, actually. 58 minutes we've been live, which is great. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in. If you are brand new here, do make sure you hit the follow button. That's when you know it's me. And you'll see my little profile thing go pink whenever I'm live. Again, we talk about the crypto markets. We try and break them down. Thank you so much, Trojan. Appreciate that. Try and make it a bit more simple to understand. It's not a hype channel. We're just trying to keep you locked in. All of my content is over on YouTube. Just search for 2Bit Crypto and it's going to come up. But we'll be back probably Sunday and potentially on the main channel, but I'm not sure. All right? Not sure. Join the Discord, link over at 2bitcrypto.com, get involved in that, and I'll post out where we are until then. So thanks so much for watching. I might even do something in the Discord tomorrow night. I don't know. I'll let you guys know. But until then, thanks so much and enjoy the outro, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care.